Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back with part 4 of, I know I always do that with my fingers, so I know you can probably count, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I'm back with part 4 of um, my dreams for the BRICS, which, for those who don't know, stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, of course. Um, Although they're looking to potentially expand to new members. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I'll try and crack on with my ideas, and I'd love to read your comments from this dyslexic creative dude. Um, and yeah, here goes. So yeah, please don't hold back your feedback, and I hope you'll share the video and like the video, and I appreciate your support. And if you can drop me any constructive criticism or feedback, which can help me to improve, hopefully, and Shagor, also any I was going to say, sorry, any positive points as well, which would encourage me. I think I'm going to get a negative point out of the way. I know a bit off topic, but in my pessimism and paranoia, perhaps, and negative thoughts and thinking, well, getting pessimism, and a pessimist always wishes to be proven wrong, I suppose, as a side note. I've got to admit, I sometimes, a lot of time, in fact, but especially recently, I thought, would it be better if there wasn't? I sort of believe in God, but I sort of think, would it be better if there wasn't a God, because then there wouldn't be hell or stuff like that, or there wouldn't be so many rules. You wouldn't have someone above you to have rules about for, and you wouldn't have to have things to be forgiven for, and you wouldn't have another power above you, and you wouldn't have to bow or believe or worship or things like that. That put me off. So there's quite a few things that put me off religion or God. But then in my paranoia, I kind of believe kind of, even whether I want to or not. So I thought I'd get the negative thing out of the way and hope God proves me wrong. Sorry, it's so annoying. I always seem to get a runny nose, or my stomach seems to rumble when I make videos for some silly reason. But anyway, so that's some of the pessimism. I thought I was going to save it till the end of the video, but I thought I'd get it out of the way and hopefully get more positive as I go along. But I'd love to hear what you think about that, and hopefully it won't be too harsh. But yeah, I'd love to know whether you believe in God or not, or whether you believe that He's good or not. Or dare I ask? Hopefully He'll show me that He's more gooder, better, more good and more loving than I think He is. But anyway, I'm going to crack on with the list. I think that covers everything. But yeah, I hope He proves me wrong and shows me that He does exist, but also that it's good that He exists, perhaps. Or yeah, he or she, you could say. But yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on religion and on the BRICS and whatever else. Anyway, stop waffling, Mike. Here we go. So number 31. Again, I think maybe God could prove me that He's good by helping my projects and plans, and helping me to make the world a better place, perhaps, and showing that He can tackle suffering, or wants to tackle suffering and poverty, and alleviate suffering and stuff like that. And I would love, on that note as well, to bring it back to the BRICS itself specifically, I would love for the BRICS themselves, going away from the religious side of things, to make the world a better place, and look at what they can do to change perceptions and to improve, to alleviate suffering, and make the world a better place, as I say, and yeah, make people happier, spread peace, love, joy, and those sort of things. Number 32. Going back to religion, I would say that again, sorry for going off topic a little bit, but going I say again, but yeah, sorry if I sometimes go off topic, but going back to religion and all that kind of thing, like I lean more towards Christianity, but I wanted to give all religions a chance to like prove themselves. And I was thinking, like, any religious group, I posted on my Facebook recently, any religious, or those who are on my Facebook will know, I'm sure, or many of them will, or whoever's seen it. Anyway, what am I talking about? But yeah, I posted about how any religious group or organization which helps me to produce 40 things that I'm proud of, whether that's writing in notebooks that I can give away if I get 40 notebooks done or something like that, or 40 or more, because I'm 40, like, symbolically, or 40 projects. If I get 40 projects up, I understand that getting 40 projects up is not an easy task that I'm asking for. But yeah, if God can help me with that miracle or whatever, and I can point to it and say, or people say, oh yeah, Michael Shenton has produced 40, or M.K.S has produced 40 projects or more, then whatever religion helps me the most, I would convert to that religion, and probably, and like for each piece of work I do after that, I would share the literature or scriptures or whatever from that specific religion. So I hope it will be the one true religion, perhaps, if there is one, which I believe so, which would help me to do that. But anyway, I hope that made sense. But when it comes to the BRICS, bringing it back to the BRICS, I think they should have equal rights for all religions, and like stop any religious persecution, discrimination, or things like people say goes on sometimes, arguably, in some of the BRIC nations like China and India. But yeah, I think they should give equal rights for all religions, as long as they operate within the law, I suppose, which hopefully religions will do. Not sure about Satanism, but I mean, as in terms of under the law, perhaps they should all be equal. But obviously, if they break the law, then they should be brought to book. Like if someone uses religion to break the law, perhaps, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think they should give rights to each religion on that note. But yeah, the reason why I mentioned the religious thing, obviously, is because the BRICS would be one of the projects if I got to work on it on my own goals. Number 33, I mentioned before how I'd love for the BRICS to support libertarianism, or liberty, freedom, and that kind of thing. And to me, I think there's no 100% freedom anywhere. Like, I believe that another pessimistic thought of mine, or possibly nihilistic thought, if I dare say so. So sorry if I'm being quite pessimistic in a way, but is that the only non-existence is, I think, the most free thing, really, because then you don't have to do anything. Like, to me, I have 3 or 4 definitions of freedom. 1, not having to do what you want to do without fear of reprisal or repercussion. 2, being able to do whatever you want to do without fear of reprisal or repercussion. Yeah, so not having to do things you don't want to do, and being able to do what you want to do without fear of reprisal or repercussion. And 3, having free choices to do things. So being able to make decisions and choices that you want to do, which I suppose sort of connects or relates to. I suppose that's kind of the same thing as the first 2. And again, a bit pessimistic of me, but to me, non-existence is the ultimate freedom, if I'm honest. But again, I'd love to hear what you think of each of those points. Like, what do you think freedom means to you? And again, especially, I'd love to read from people from the BRICS about from BRICS countries, like people from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and of course South Africa, or any new members of the BRICS, or any connected members of the BRICS, or whatever, if the group expands, or people who the BRICS network with, countries that the BRICS network with, people from those countries. I would love to read what you think of freedom is, what you think freedom is, like people from Africa and Asia and around the world. I'd love to know what you think freedom means to you, or just general people as well. Number 34, again, as I mentioned before, I would love for the BRICS to tackle war and violence. Number 35, I like to write in lots of notebooks, and I know one of the things is, if I was more organized, okay, when I come up with an idea like BRICS, for instance, or my ideas to, well, obviously it's not my idea, the BRICS, but what I would like to do to work with the BRICS, I would love to write in specific notebooks, like certain colors or whatever that remind me of the BRICS, or whatever, or which I decide for whatever reason to use for the BRICS. The BRICS in speech marks, so we say. But yeah, I know I have these strange patterns, sorry. But yeah, as part of my mental health problem, I don't know if I should admit to this because it's quite a difficult one to talk about, obviously, mental health problems. But if I could, I know I've kind of mentioned it before, but I suppose I don't know if people know how literal I'm being. But there's a part of me, there's a part of my mind, even though I know it's really crazy, it's part of my brain thinks I would love to have notebooks literally everywhere, like in bags or boxes or whatever. I would try and store them as neat as possible. Although the idea of the notebooks is to make, and papers and writings and stuff like that, including on receipts and envelopes and things like that, is to try and make the world a better place. So you could argue I'm defeating my own object if I get in other people's way. But wherever I have permission, shall we say, to make it easier. But yeah, part of me just imagines if there was paper. Well, I can't even imagine it. But yeah, if there was, as mad as I know it is, if there was papers everywhere and all that kind of thing. So, but yeah, if it, I think to make myself less depressed, perhaps I should just have papers wherever I'm able to, wherever I have permission. But if I write on a piece of paper and it gets ripped or torn or destroyed or taken away, I get quite frustrated. But yeah, I'd love to be able to keep them in places where I have permission. And maybe the bricks also, on a side note, could another idea is the bricks could have like send-ins where people send them ideas, but obviously they'd have to have spaces where they keep that. Like some of them could be online, and some of them could be via paper, which are sent by post from around the world, which are ideas for how the bricks could improve. Although they would have to have security to ensure that no one sends anything dangerous, perhaps. But yeah, so they'd have someone sorting through that through the airports or whatever. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not, like with all these ideas, but yeah, I'd love to read people's comments about what you think about that. Number 36, as I often mention, again, I would love for them to invest in Italian football. That's one of the biggest things I would love for them to do, as much as they can legally, as I say. Number 37, and as I say, repeating also about Celtic. But yeah, when it comes to like paperwork, if God would answer my prayer, I'd say anyone who tried to touch, anyone who tried to even read, touch, go through, or much less remove, destroy, or even give away any of my notes without my permission, any of my notes, papers, receipts, envelopes, or anything like that. If it was up to me, if God answered my prayer, like anyone who tried to do that without my permission would fall before they even got to it, and injure themselves enough to put them off doing so again. So that'd be like one of my prayers. And like, I love it to have more faith. Like, so I think like no weapon formed against me would prosper. So I would say, yeah, like that, like the thing I talked about, like if people could send ideas, like send-ins, as I call them, for the bricks, maybe people who don't want the bricks to do well, or don't want to see emerging markets do well, might send harmful materials, things that could contaminate things, poison things, or even bombs or things like that. But if I had more faith, I would ask God, like say, or maybe I will ask God, but I don't know if He would do this. But anyone who tried to send any harmful materials, hopefully somehow they would get intercepted, or there'll be a way that they wouldn't be able to do that. And like anyone who had negative intentions against me personally, I know I'm going a bit off topic again, but God would prevent their plans. Like if someone tried to attack me, it would go against them instead. That's another prayer I would have. But yeah, I on the note of prayer, I would pray, or I will pray and hope God will hear me, or I do pray. I suppose this is kind of a prayer in a way to say I hope God blesses the bricks somehow and helps them to find whatever benefits them, seek the truth and find whatever. Although in Christianity it says the truth will set you free, but to me, I think non-existence is most free, and also I think the truth is quite a pain in the neck a lot of time, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know if I'd say it would set me free, so I hope God forgives me that one. But I'd say any religious group that helps me to, hope I'm not jinxing it, as this video has taken over 13 minutes. But yeah, the unlucky 13th. But here I say any any spiritual or religious organization which helps me to create 40 projects. That could even be 40 notebooks that I write in my own unique M.K.S style. Like how I use the pages, how I use the lines and things like that. Line papers, because my handwriting and stuff like that. It's even worse on plain paper. So yeah, any spiritual or religious group that helps me do that, I would convert to that religion, I suppose, to give all religions a fair shot. So I think it'd be unfair for God to blame me if I made mistakes or chose the wrong one, because I think God should guide me to the right path or whatever. Anyway, sorry, I've gone a bit off topic, but 38, again, I would love for the bricks to spread positivity. I know I can be a bit of a pessimist myself and that kind of thing. And yeah, to look at what they can do to improve their image and showcase that they're doing good stuff and things like that. Number 39, I hope they'll have as many summits and events and conferences, bringing in investors, sponsors, people who can bring in profits, basically bring in money and sponsorship and funding and things like that. And yeah, so bring in hedge funds, banks, as I mentioned before, like having their own version of Davos. I know I'm sorry for being repetitive, but yeah, hopefully by repeating the ideas which are most important to me, hopefully they will work best. That would probably be up there with the most important idea for the BRICS' own benefit, other than how I'd love for them to benefit town football and Celtic, who I also hope to have investment summits and conferences. But I think it would be great if they had as many events as possible, inviting people from around the world, especially hedge funds, banks, and businesses and investors, even billionaires, the world's richest people, Fortune 500 companies, perhaps. Um, Maybe this could help them improve relations with America. Perhaps it'd be hard to see that, but I suppose with the challenges with America and the fallout of Ukraine war and things like that, it would be hard to see whether the Fortune 500 companies could work with them. But again, it's another idea that maybe they could find a way around. But yeah, bringing in having organisations like Davos, and maybe working with like international bodies like the UN or others to talk about like how developing countries should have more access to be able to build their own version of Davos and things like that. But yeah, so I'd love for the BRICS, as many of them as possible, preferably all of them, to have their own events like Davos, COP26, their own version of the G20 or things like that again, and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think those would be pretty cool, inviting the world's richest people, the world's billionaires, investors, entrepreneurs, ideas people, including, as I mentioned before, neurodiverse entrepreneurs, including millionaires and even billionaires, and maybe a lot of events. And maybe there could be like a network, which I talked before about, like neurodiverse billionaires, dyslexic billionaires, ADHD billionaires, and that kind of thing separately as well. And the BRICS could facilitate a lot of those networks. Maybe they could also legally, and I often talk about like making sure it's legal, provide their own tax havens, become their own tax havens and get support from the international community. And number 40, again, whichever spiritual or religious group helps me to produce 40 things I can be proud of, 40 projects or notebooks or whatever that can write. I would love to convert to that religion. I know that's a bit off topic, but again, that would include things like the BRICS, dare I say. But yeah, I hope I don't jinx it. But yeah, I'm sure there was another point I was going to make. But I'll say I'd love for them to host neurodiverse entrepreneurs networks where they bring people from neurodiverse backgrounds from other countries into the BRIC nations. Also, they can have their own academies and training centers for neurodiverse people within their own countries and support their own neurodiverse people to become entrepreneurs, like people with dyslexia, ADHD, and that sort of thing, as I mentioned before, even dyspraxia. And yeah, I know this video has been quite long, so please forgive me for going over the 10 minutes that I wanted to go through, but I did try and cover the ideas in detail, thoughts that came to my mind. But yeah, I'd love to read your comments, as I say, especially if you're from one of the BRIC nations, or as many of the BRIC nations as possible. And I am out. Peace and love.